Good evening and a very warm welcome to your special edition of News with Tonga this week. Making headlines, King Naboth VI delivered his first address at the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Hundreds of teachers gathered to mark World Teachers' Day on Friday. Prime Minister Lord Duano is reportedly well and he's now in an excellent condition after a mild stroke in New York. And Malapapuna Water Committee benefit from Japanese government assistance to their water supply. These and more stories later on in this special edition of News. I'm Fatai Whaingaa with the details. His Majesty King Naboth VI delivered his first address at the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. In a statement from the Prime Minister's office, this is the first time for the King to address this assembly as head of state. Sidlantu reports.
Information from the Prime Minister's office adds that His Majesty sincerely congratulated the President of the 68th session upon his election to the presidency of the General Assembly and assured the President that the Tongan delegation's full support and cooperation under his leadership. Furthermore, the King highlighted Tonga embracing the timely theme for the general debate, which is the post-2015 development agenda setting the stage. This also includes a set of 6 thematic issues of focus for high-level events and thematic debates during the 68th session. The King assured the Assembly that Tonga joins other small island developing states in affirming that priorities in the outline of this year's theme, with increased cooperation among United Nations member states, which would be shaped on the outcome of the 2014 Third International Conference on SIDS that will be held in Samoa. The head of state also pledged the Tonga's support of the proposed high-level event that would address the needs of women, youth, and civil society and contribute to development goals, and that Tonga applauds the high-level event on the contribution of human rights and rule of law to the post-2015 framework and hails the 20th anniversary of Vienna Conference on Human Rights. The King noted earlier this year, Tonga submitted its second Universal Periodic Review, which was adopted by the Human Rights Council. The next review for Tonga is scheduled for 2017-2018. He added that the high-level event centering on South-South and triangular cooperation and examining how information and communications technology is appreciated as adding value to the realization of development targets. His Majesty also told the gathering about Tonga hosting the annual Pacific Islands chapter of the Internet Conference, PIC-ISOC, earlier this month to celebrate the emergence of high-speed Internet connectivity in Tonga. He said the conference showcased the achievements of the Pacific region to access opportunities for Internet users and how Tonga can best derive its own investment strategy for the new cable submarine Internet systems. His Majesty also highlighted in his address that energy is the golden thread that connects economic growth, increased social equity, and an environment that allows the world to thrive. Before ending his address, the head of state told the Assembly that Tonga endorses the views expressed in the Marshall Islands Communique, that is, the outcome document of the annual meeting of Pacific Island Forum leaders held earlier this month. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilatu.
The role of teachers is a very important one. This was highlighted by Her Royal Highness Princess Salote Mafle Opilole Tuita during a special program on Friday to mark World Teachers' Day. Similar programs were also held in the outer islands to mark the day. In Tangatapu, hundreds of teachers, former teachers and educators gathered at the Atela Indoor Stadium for World Teachers' Day. Sinlatu was there and filed this report.
The guest of honor at the program to mark World Teachers' Day, Her Royal Highness Princess Salote Mafle o Pilolevu Tuita, stressed the duties carried out by teachers. Speaking to the gathering of educators, Princess Pilolevu, who's a former teacher, also highlighted this year's theme, A Call for Teachers.
O ko whakakau au koe ka venga o tauni.
In Tonga, a call for teachers mean it is a call from God. It's like when pastors and ministers are called to do their job or to be evangelists or missionaries. To me, this is a wake-up call for teachers and to us, the people of the society, to remind and take note the important role of a teacher. Forgive me if my interpretation is wrong, but I think that teachers' responsibilities are vital. A call for teachers is an important call, and it needs to be recognized and embraced. A retired teacher and Tongatapu People's Representative Number 1, Akilisi Pohiva, relayed the joint message from UNESCO, ILO, UNDP, UNICEF, and EI. He says it is time for teachers to stand together and to highlight their fundamental role.
On this World Teachers' Day, we joined forces to thank teachers and to call for more, better trained and supported teachers. Nothing can replace a good teacher. Evidence shows that teachers, their professional knowledge and skills are the most important factor for quality education. This requires stronger training up front and continual professional development and support to enhance performance and learning outcomes.
The prayer service for teachers was led by the Director for Ministry and Training. The event was attended by the Minister for Education and Training, Honorable Dr. Ana Tafe Ulungaki, education directors, principals, teachers, and other people in the education field. Also attending the program were Lord Javier Tuihateho and New Zealand High Commissioner Mark Talbot, among other guests. World Teachers' Day is marked on October 5th with this year's theme, A Call for Teachers. Many schools were out today, so teachers from government and church schools could attend the program.
The National Reformation Centre of Reverend Gelepi and Lucille Amisa is building a new centre at Hateho. We'll join Kalolaine Tonglava with that report.
The patron of the National Reformation Centre, Her Royal Highness Princess Bilolevu Tuita, was the guest of honour at the blessing of a piece of land where the centre is located. Her Royal Highness also officiated at the groundbreaking ceremony held last Saturday. The estate holder, Lord Tihateho, and his family attended the ceremony. Princess Bilolevu told the gathering that it was a historic day for the children and the youth at the centre, and people who support the effort to set up a new centre for the youth play a vital role, as it's God's wish to help the children who are in need. Her Royal Highness also said that such help for the youth is similar to the message from God in the book of Isaiah.
Isaiah chapter 42 verse 3. He will not break the bruised reed, nor quench the dimly burning flame. He will encourage the faint-hearted, those tempted to despair. He will see full justice given to all who have been wronged.
Meanwhile, according to Reverend Luciola Misa, they have raised money and other building materials donated from the people during radiothons, and she believes that God will provide the rest of the construction materials. Following the ceremony, Princess Bilolevu Tuita led the guests in inspecting handicrafts displayed at the program before guests were served with luncheon. Girls at the Reformation Centre are given temporary housing at the Girl Guides home, according to the Chief Commissioner of the Girls Guide Association, Halai Valupalo. Reporting for Television Tonga News, I'm Kalolaine Tonglava.
The Prime Minister, Lord Divano, is reportedly well and he's now in an excellent condition. He's expected to be discharged from the hospital in New York this week. That's according to the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, Lord Fafanua. He told the House this week that in a telephone conversation with Tonga's ambassador to the United Nations, Mahioliuli Tuponiua, he was told that doctors would decide on when the Prime Minister would be fit to take his flight back home. Kalaini Tonglava reports.
Meanwhile, the acting chief secretary and the acting secretary to cabinet, Ahlot Balu, had also confirmed of the Prime Minister's excellent condition to radio and television Tonga News this morning. Mr. Balu has been accompanying the Prime Minister to the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. In an emailed response to requests for information from radio and television Tonga News, Mr. Balu wrote that his lordship was admitted to hospital for chest pain. He said that doctors were very responsive and treated the pain with proper procedures and medication. Mr. Balu also said that Lord Tuivano is now in an excellent condition after the treatment. He is tentatively booked to return to Tonga this weekend, depending on his doctor's advice. Lord Ma'afu first revealed the news about the Prime Minister's health condition in the Legislative Assembly yesterday. He told the House that Lord Tuivano has suffered a mild stroke, but in a stable condition. Lord Ma'afu also asked for prayers for the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister accompanied Their Majesties King Dubois VI and Queen Anaspao in representing the Kingdom to the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Reporting for Television Tonga News, I am Kalolaini Tonglava.
4 deaths have been recorded for breast cancer in Tonga this year. That's according to a report from the Ministry of Health, which was presented this week at an initial program to mark the beginning of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Kingdom.
The theme being highlighted this year is Let's Talk. A report on the statistics of breast cancer in Tonga was presented by the Ministry of Health, Dr. Ana Akauola.
Amongst cancer incidents in 4 Pacific countries, including Tonga, in 2000 and 2005 showed that leading cancers in the women in Tonga is led by breast, followed closely by uterine and cervical cancers. In other words, being a woman predisposes us to cancer, as these organs defines our femininity. Because we do not have breast screening such as mammography yet, it is important that we must continue to do our self-breast examination, and if we feel any changes to the texture of our breast, seek help as fast as we could. Majority of those diagnosed with breast cancer gets treatment in Tonga, which is surgery. Some get to be sent for chemo or radiotherapy or both in Australia, paid for by the government. A few may not need the chemo or radiotherapy because they came early enough and that their cancer is not aggressive. There are, however, a few patients that once diagnosed disappears from the system until they present a few years later when it is too late to do anything anymore, as they chose to go for Tongan medicine. I would like to emphasize here that breast cancer is one of those that are treatable if caught early enough, and that it will not go away without proper treatment.
Dr. Akauola says that cancer is classified as a non-communicable disease.
This increase in those that drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes. It is also more common in those who eat meat and animal fats and thus are overweight. There is less risk in those who eat fish, especially oily fish like tuna and salmon, and exercise 5 times a week and eat more vegetables and fruits. In conclusion, the take-home message for this morning is this: breast cancer is treatable if present early. If left untreated, no amount of leaves will save you. Breast cancer, like diabetes and hypertension, is a disease of lifestyle. We must eat healthy, exercise, and stop smoking and drink alcohol to minimize the chance of getting breast cancer.
Dr. Akauola advised the gathering to do routine medical checkups, especially when they notice a change in their body. Members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of various government and non-government organizations, and guests attended this morning's program. To highlight breast cancer awareness this month, the Society has organized a series of programs, including an event by the Paskala Nuk Alofa, a parade, and other programs.
Tonga spent up to 94 million paanga in 2012 to import food and beverages. The statement was made by His Serene Highness Prince Tupelehake based on figures from the Statistics Department. He revealed this week at a program attended by representatives from Tonga's food industries. Linda Filiai has more on that story.
Speaking to television Tonga News, His Serene Highness Prince Tuipelhake says a lot of money has been used to purchase food items from overseas, but most of it can be produced locally. The food industry is one of the biggest industries in Tonga. A total of 94 million has been spent on importing food to the kingdom. I believe majority of these food items imported can be produced locally. It's crucial to ensure there is a sustainable food supply in the kingdom, His Serene Highness adds, so there is no hunger in Tonga, which will in turn lead to a peaceful nation. There is a group called Kitchen Club, and I hope we can set up a garden club that focuses on planting vegetable and crops for the community. I propose to look at the abandoned lots in the communities where the families live overseas and get permission from the town officer or the proper authorities to allow the people in the community to plant vegetable and crops there for the local consumption. The issue of abandoned lots or land was raised in Parliament in previous discussion. In light of this, initiatives are made to produce local food products which are healthy and cheap for the people. The program was attended by stakeholders in food industries such as representatives from Statistics Department, Ministry of Health, Tonga Health and local restaurants. This is an initiative of His Serene Highness Prince Tuipelhake and supported by the Ministry of Agriculture's Food Division. The Food Division also gives support to locally produced food items, which will help minimize the reliance on imported food items. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The shareholders of New Millennium Export made a presentation of its first harvest of squash production to the Queen Mother Halaivalu Aho. She was represented by her great-granddaughter, Honourable Tobove Hola Fustua. Anasi Falikano was there and filed this report.
A 5-kilogram squash is one of the first harvest of squash production which was presented to Honourable Tobove Hola Fustua, who received it on behalf of the Queen Mother Halaivalu Aho. The presentation was made at Tatalalo Sia residence at Kolomotua. Upon receiving the gift, Honourable Tobove Hola Fustua thanked New Millennium Export.
Ako whakawhawhonga e ato heni ai whakamalo me he tahine kuini whehoho Halaivalu Mataaho.
On behalf of the Queen Mother Halaivalu Mataaho, I would like to extend our thanks to Leseli Namoa and all the women involved for this commitment and hard work in production and export of our local squash. I pray that our Heavenly Father will continue to bless us all in our work. The General Manager of the New Millennium Export, Leseli Namoa, led the presentation. This is the outcome of our work and we want to present it to the royal family to show appreciation of their help to revive this sector. She also urged public to join hands in promoting this sector as it generates a lot of income to the families and the government as well. I am encouraging the people of the nation to work together to revive this sector, especially the current financial crisis in which Tonga is affected. I am hoping that we could collaborate in boosting the economy through exporting squash products to overseas markets. A shareholder of the New Millennium Export, Ofasimiki, shares the challenges in producing and exporting squash. As women in this business, we are committed to producing and exporting our local squash overseas. There are a lot of challenges, especially financially. There are a lot of expenses in producing, harvest and packing of squash. The company this year is targeted to export up to 15,000 tons of squash to its Asian market. For Television Tonga News, I'm Anasi Falekaono.
The Speaker of Parliament, Lord Fafanua, shares his hopes that the assistance donated from the Chinese government will help assure the quality level of operations of the Legislative Assembly. He revealed this in his vote of thanks in a program to mark the donation received from the International Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, on Friday. Kalolaine Tonglava was at Parliament and filed this report.
The Speaker of the House, Lord Fafanua, and the Chinese ambassador signing the agreement for the assistance from China to the Office of the Legislative Assembly. The assistance includes office furniture and technical and electrical appliances, including computers, cameras, and other electronic equipment worth more than $80,000. In a speech from the Speaker of the House, Lord Fafanua, he says the assistance provided will help with the House operations.
Last October, myself and 5 other members from the Parliament, including the Clerk of the House, were invited by the Communist Party of China to visit China. It was a most educational trip, and consequently we were able to familiarize ourselves with the political structure of the Communist Party. The result of our trip to the International Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party was a donation of these office furniture and electrical equipment. We are deeply honored to receive this gift, and we believe that it will generate our staff to work more efficiently, let alone comfortably, to assure a competent level of quality in the running of the legislative office. For this, we are deeply indebted.
In the speech from the Chinese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Wang Donghua, he highlighted the importance of enhancing the bilateral relations between China and Tonga.
And I think the donation is a part of the achievement Lord Speaker achieved during his visit to China last year. And it's also a token of friendly sentiment of the Communist Party and the International Department in particular towards the people of Tonga, and a form of their support for improving the office facilities in the Parliament here. I think it is gratifying to note there have been increased exchanges between the International Department of the CPC and the Parliament of Tonga in recent years. I think that's the natural extension of the overall relationships between our two countries growing from strength to strength, and also a symbol of the new progress scored in advancing our bilateral relationship. I think some of the members of the Parliament have visited China at the invitation of the International Department of the CPC, and that helps them learn a lot about the Chinese political system and the economic development. So probably I can say now you are in a better position to have a better picture, a whole picture about China, about what China looks like. I think these exchanges have enhanced the bilateral, the mutual understanding between our two sides. And
also attending today's presentation were the Honourable Minister of Police, Prisons and Fire Services and Minister for Inland Revenue, Sesifatu Tafaiva, Tongatapu People's Representative Number 8, Sione Taione. Also at today's program was the Clerk of the House, Gloria Poleo, and the rest of the Parliament staff. Reporting for Television Tonga News, I'm Kalolaine Tonglava.
After facing inconsistent water supply for many years, Vamoto residents have received help to improve the distribution of their water supply. The Japanese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Dr. Kazujika Hamuro, this week presented the Malavapuna Water Supply Committee at Vamoto with assistance estimated at 200,000 paanga. Whanonga Veikosa was there and filed this report.
New water tanks were presented by the government of Japan to Whaamotu residents today. The assistance provided include 2 5,000-gallon water tanks, a solar pump unit, a diesel engine, and other items to build a fence around the site. The Whaamotu town officer Vili Lui says they are thankful for the generous donation which will deal with the problem of an inconsistent water supply.
The water supply in our village has been a problem for a long time. The equipment is very old, but we are thankful for this assistance, which resolves our problems with access to water. A senior economist from the Treasury Department, Sanelolo, was also at the handover ceremony in which the funds for the assistance comes via their department. The residents asked for help from the Japan government, so the assistance was provided via the Treasury Department and the National Planning Ministry. Japan presented the town with the new water supply, other resources as well, including a new fence. The generous donation ensures easy access of Whamotu residents to the water supply for their daily needs. The handover ceremony was attended by His Serene Highness Prince Tuipelehake and the Minister for Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya, among other guests. For Koso for Television Tonga News.
The Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya, this week launched the first invitation known as Calls for Application 2013, aiming to support non-state actors and support private sector associations. Kalolaini Donglawa takes up the story.
This project is under the 10th European Development Fund for Tonga. In the remarks from the Honourable Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaya, he says this is the first opportunity granted for the private sector by government to work together and boost the economy.
This operation runs from the 26th of February 2013 until the 25th of August 2014 to use 900,000 euros or approximately 2.16 million Tongan paanga, available for the support of 4 focus areas. First, support to the National Authority Officer's Office, implemented with the Aid Management Division in the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. 2, support for the construction of the newer Toputapu Hospital. 3, support for good governance and reforms through the Tonga Energy Roadmap or TERM program, capacity building programs of local governments under the portfolio of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, as well as training of CEOs from relevant ministries in the area of public financial management reform to better understand planning, budgeting and aid coordination phases. 4th and last, support for the capacity building of NSAs in Tonga. Today we are here to launch some of this fund to address the last focus area of the TCF operation, which is to support the capacity building of the non-state actors in Tonga with the amount of 71,000 euros or 170,000 Tongan paanga. This European Union procedure is done through a call for proposals that we are launching today, and it is the first of its kind to be done in Tonga.
Lord Vaya says, since the program is quite new, interested parties are invited to attend a pre-training program next week. An officer from the EU office in Suva, Eleni Leveni TV, is in the kingdom to lead the training program, which the training aims to guide non-government organizations on the proper way of writing proposals. Meanwhile, information from the Ministry of Finance confirmed that the deadline for submissions for the full application is November 28th.
Residents in the Western District will have easier access to health services with the completion of renovation work to Kolowai's Health Centre. The Honourable Minister of Health, Lord Afito, marked this in a special program on Friday. This is funded by the Australian Government via AusAid.
A program was held to mark the completion of renovation work to Kolowai Health Centre. This was attended by the First Secretary of the Australian High Commissioner in Tonga, Scott McLennan, who told the gathering the health clinic also helps people in the district combat non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressure.
In the wake of the non-communicable diseases epidemic, which is claiming the lives of many Tongan people, health centres like this one will help halt the rise in NCD-related illnesses. The Australian Government has been committed to responding to the NCD epidemic in Tonga since 2009, when it committed $7.5 million Australian dollars to improve health outcomes in Tonga under the Tonga Health Systems Support Program.
Kolovai's district nurse Limisesi Kaivelata told Television Tonga News before renovation work was carried out to the clinic, people in the community had to go to Viola Hospital for checkups and treatment. The clinic is now beautiful. We're very happy with the assistance. They've also renewed the equipment and other resources in the clinic. Before the renovation work, people had to go to Viola Hospital for treatment or medical assistance. Now we can provide all that in the clinic with the new facilities. Also attending today's program was Tonga Tapu's People's Representative for Constituency Number 5, Dr. Isaac Eke, the Health Director, Dr. Sally Akauola, among other guests. The Kolovai Health Centre also provides health services to 10 villages in the Western District, which has close to 600 families.
The General Manager of Tonga Water Board, Simone Helo, has confirmed that there has been no increase in the price of water in North Tapu or the outer islands over the past few years. This was clarified after parliamentary reports presented in the House state that the water tariff is among concerns raised by people during parliamentary visits. Television Tonga News has been following some parliamentary visits this year where people expressed their complaints of the expensive water bill and inconsistent water supply. However, the General Manager of Tonga Water Board confirms that the water tariff has been the same for the past 7 or 6 years to date. The price of water is 2 pa'anga and 9 seniti for 1,000 litres of waters in Nuku'alofa, 1 pa'anga and 34 seniti in Ewa, 2 pa'anga and 11 seniti in Hapai, and 2 pa'anga and 13 seniti in Vava'o. Tonga Water Board's consultant, Pita Moala, believes that the high water for consumers could be due to a leak in the underground water pipes. Therefore, the water pipes need to be checked and serviced. Tonga is still below the list of the countries that records the most water loss on non-revenue water. Although we're in a satisfactory condition, our water supplies still need to be checked and monitored for leakages in order not to affect the water tariff. The water bill is distributed to consumers twice a month, where Mr. Helu says this helps them notice if there is a leak in the water pipes through the first and second reading. Also, if consumers did not receive the first water bill, they can receive the second one. He adds that the changes made is also based on complaints from consumers not receiving a water bill. Despite all of this, Mr. Helu says they are doing their best to meet the people's needs and provide consistent water supply for consumers. Due to lack of funding for the operation of Tonga Print, a decision to downsize its staff had to be made and to merge Tonga Print with Tonga Post. This was underlined by the chairperson of the Board of Directors of Tonga Print to Television Tonga News after 14 of the staff received redundancy payment, including those who worked in the business for over 3 decades. Meanwhile, there is dissatisfaction over the redundant package awarded to those who retired from Tonga Print. Television Tonga News interviewed one of the redundant workers, Siale Taufa, and she expressed her dissatisfaction over the package awarded to them. When they told us what's happening to the company, I was not aware of the amount of the redundant package, but the amount I received was not satisfied. However, I believe I will not be neglected as God will guide me through. I do not know where do I continue from here, whether if I can find a job anywhere else or not. However, I'm not complaining, for I believe that this is God's plan. In the meantime, the chairperson of the Board of Directors of Tonga Print, Tapu Panuve, says half of the workers' retirement has been paid off in previous years.
This is the third time they've been paid out redundancies. 2005, they were paid out their redundancy and retirement packages when the Tonga Print was corporatized. And then from 2006 to 2011, they collected their retirement contributions and also from Tonga Print. In 2011, the Tonga Print was supposed to be purchased by an overseas company. Negotiations didn't work out. That fell through. But in anticipation of that, the workers were paid out another redundancy in 2011. In the interim period between 2011 and 2013 now, they didn't pay anything at all in terms of retirement funds, or there was nothing collected. So the package that was paid out to them was actually greater than what they received from 2006 to 2011.
Meanwhile, Ms. Dalfa says there wasn't enough time given to them to think through the consequences of the new restructure. I'm not so sure. I think they informed us 3 months ago, and they told us that the company will be bought by the Tonga Post, and for us to go home and talk with our spouses and families, and to also seek legal advice if necessary. But Mr. Barnube says the workers were informed on the matter in about 3 to 4 months ago, which given them enough time to think about it.
What we said back then was that in about 3 or 4 months' time, if we're going to get to the stage where there's no more money, the doors to Tonga Print will close and everybody will go home with nothing. So at that time, the best way forward, as put forward by the minister, was that we try and come up with a solution to look after the workers and also to try and revive Tonga Print. So in terms of not enough notice being given, there was 3 or 4 months beforehand, and at that meeting, I actually advised the staff to go home and talk to their partners, husbands or wives, and let them know the situation that Tonga Print was in, and that 3 or 4 months down the road, where we got to last week, we would be doing this because there's no other option.
He also says that the new restructure is to enable Tonga Print to compete with other print organizations and to also meet market standards. More than 2,800 Class 6 pupils have this week completed their secondary school's entrance examination. They set the mathematics and Tongan and as their last subject on Wednesday. Information from the Ministry of Education and Training says more than 800 students are in Notapu and the rest are from the outer islands. Linda Afiliai reports.
One of the parents in Vava'o Moses Palay told our news correspondent in Neafu Ludovico Tapueluelu that all parents were happy to see their children eager to sit the exam. This year's entrance examination is a happy and joyful event. The results are not really necessary at this stage. I can see the joyful spirits amongst the parents in preparing their children both physically and spiritually. The most important lesson that parents taught their children is to trust in the Lord. Radio Tonga Strings in Nuafo'o, Pensimani Tonga reports today that a feast is being prepared by the parents and teachers in support of the Class 6 student. After the first day of the entrance examination, there was a feast prepared by the parents for the examination student and the teachers. After today's paper, there will be another feast to show how happy the teacher and parents for this year's entrance examination. And according to our correspondent in Hapai, Moimoi Whahua, 186 pupils take the exam throughout the island. Also in Ewa, 175 students are taking the exam in 2 separate centres, according to our reporter, Tuifiofi Now. Meanwhile, Television Tonga News crew took out some examination centres in Nuku'alofa areas, including Havelu Government Primary Schools, where 117 pupils set the exam, and also Whangau Pilolevu Government Primary Schools, with 79 Class 6 pupils. Some of the Class 6 pupils spoke to Television Tonga News how they felt after taking this major examination. I was happy to take this exam. I faced difficulties in answering some questions in the exam, but at the end of the day, I'm glad it's over. The exam paper was quite easy for me, only few questions that I was not able to answer. I want to thank God for His help during my preparation for this exam. I have studied hard to pass this exam as I want to make my parents happy. Meanwhile, one of the parents in Havelu told Television Tonga News that she is in full support of her son who took part in the exam. I would like to encourage all parents in Tonga to accept whatever result from their children's exam because everything is God's plan. I understand some of the parents have angry at their children once the result is out. However, there were more than 40 exam centres in Tongatapu with more than 200 candidates. The 2013 secondary school entrance examination was held in 97 centres throughout the kingdom. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The Honourable Minister of Fire Department, Honourable Sasifa Tutafaiva, this week marked the graduation of 3 senior cadet officers after 13-week trainings. Linda Filiai reports.
The Honourable Minister of Police, Prison and Fire Services, Sasifa Tutafaiva, presenting certificate and prizes for 3 cadet officers who have completed the training. The 3 officers were Roman Vaihu, Fetokai Toki and Felemi Tontonu, whom obtained bachelor in different educational field. The Honourable Minister thanked the cadet officer for their commitment throughout the training. He says this will not benefit themselves but will also help Tonga Fire Services and the country in general. Words cannot express how grateful I am of your achievement. You have accomplished the objectives of this 13 weeks training. Today you have reaped the fruits of your hard labor. However, the Deputy Fire Commissioner Viliami Tuihalamaka says the goal started in Tonga and ended with a 3-week trainings at South Australia Metropolitan Fire Services. The aim of this training is to change the personal attitude of this cadet officer to follow the Tonga Fire Services orders and work accordingly. The department has now witnessed a great achievement made by this officer and they will contribute to several developments in our operation. Meanwhile, a demonstration was also conducted by the cadet officer to the guest. The Police Minister also stresses the importance to recruit more staff for Tonga Fire Services, especially throughout the islands. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
And that wraps up this evening's news edition with Tonga this week. Thanking you all for watching. I'm Fatai Whainga. I have a pleasant evening.